This episode of Spectre Sound Studios has been brought to you by DistroKid. Get your music online and out to the world today.
You just made Mustaine an enemy for life.
Why? Because I criticized the guitar bearing his name? First off, I don't give a shit. I'm here to tell you guys the truth. Secondly, I don't know if he'd be really that upset about that. I mean, like, it's his name going on a guitar. I think he'd want people to point out if something wasn't up to snuff. Then again, I could be completely wrong. Hey guys, it's Friday. It's time for yet another exciting episode of SMG Viewers Comments, the show that's about you and not about me. By the time this video goes live, I should be well underway in my Asian travels. Hopefully I'm in Japan during the week of this. If not, I'll still be in the Philippines or something like that. I'm definitely going to have some really cool content coming up based on those travels, though. It should be an awful lot of fun. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can get updates on when those episodes come out, because I think we're going to be going to the Ibanez factory. Hopefully. Fingers crossed anyway. Hopefully that happens. Anyway, let's get to your comments and questions right now.
I'm starting to think that people don't agree with Glenn just because they don't like him. If Paul Reed Smith or any guitar company owner said these things, I'm pretty sure anybody would believe. But it's not going to happen. Did you ever hear McDonald's says, our burgers are not healthy? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think we're going to hear from people who are in the business of selling consumers expensive wood that the wood doesn't make a big difference in terms of electric guitar sound. It's just not going to happen. It's like saying Christians against Christ or something like that. It'd be shooting yourself in the foot just as far as sales are concerned. And unfortunately, a lot of consumerism is based around just basically a smokescreen. It's more about a good story than what actually fucking does something.
Listen, I'm on board with most of the other stuff. Guitar players, no pickups, change tone, feel, gain, overall vibe, genre. I always play the same amp speaker cap. The pickups change often, not the guitar. You go to EMG or bare knuckle of active, passive, Aldeco to ceramic and back, it's different. How the attack is received by the speaker, more metallic versus darker. Just because you do a test doesn't mean you're right on this one. Sometimes you're a sound engineer, other times you're a guitar player. Guitar players can tell. Pick a lane and stop triggering your people. I'm sure $1 million industry, aka pickups industry, isn't a ripoff when most all agree. Just because you say it's the same doesn't mean it's the same.
I didn't say it's the same. I said there are very small differences because we did the test. Not only did we do the pickup swap test, we did the guitar swap test. And most of you guys said the same thing. It's like the differences are tiny. They're minuscule. There are differences, but they're very, very, very small. And as somebody who records, I want to know what's going to make the big changes. What's going to make the real changes, which is going to help me get the sound I'm trying to get for my fucking clients. What part of this is so fucking hard to understand? I'm trying to record great sounds. Yes, I get it. You go from guitar to guitar in front of your rig, you feel something different. Good, congratulations. When you record it, it doesn't amount to jack shit. In case you didn't notice, the channel's called Spectre Sound Studios. You clicked on a video that literally said Spectre Sound Studios. Where did this get lost along the way that this show might be about recording?
Why the pushback on speakers? Availability. I've yet to go into a music store and see a wall of speakers to choose from, much less here, and they're a pain in the ass to change out, especially if they don't exactly match up mounting-wise. Plus, most folks can't remember what the old ones sounded like after a few hours go by, lol. So after all the fiddling about it, they just say, oh yeah, baby, that's much better. Just saying, and after goofing with modelers and plugins, I tend to get the most of the telly for the Princeton takeoff because fuck you, that's why.
Dude, you've got a really good point there. Yeah, speakers aren't easy to change out. Pickups aren't either, but people go to endless lengths to change those out. But speakers, nah, they're just hidden, so people don't really think about them too much. But I do have a point about, after you go to all the effort, you forget what the original one sounded like. That's because people are too lazy to fucking make recordings of what they used to sound like. It's the easiest thing in the world to do, people. Recording technology is cheap. All you have to do is press the record button, make a change, and press record again. Just make sure the only thing you're changing is one thing, like the speaker or the pickup. And don't change a bunch of other shit, too. Trust me on this. That way you can make better informed decisions. But dude, you're absolutely right about walking into a guitar store and yeah, they don't have a wall of speakers to change from. I remember in the 80s, the local McQuaid's, they did have a Celestion demo cab where it had like 3 different speakers and a switch you could use to change between the speakers. That was actually pretty neat. We need more of those. I've only ever seen one of those in like 30 years. That is something that needs to come back.
One of the reasons people never think of how important the speaker is to guitar tone is because the speaker is physically not part of the guitar. The question, which part of the guitar affects tone the most, wouldn't have speaker as an answer. So this is the question that keeps playing in their minds instead of which part of the signal chain affects tone the most, the latter being the better question for asking.
Well, dude, I see where you're going with this, but that doesn't really work because guitar players will go on endlessly about amps and pedals. They're not part of the guitar either. So how does that make sense?
All the information without any of the confirmation. That's a t-shirt you should put out.
You know what? That might be kind of fun. If that's something you guys would like to see, let me know. I've also got a really cool design going to be coming up when I get back. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be ready for me at the time of shooting this. I just got a really cool t-shirt design coming up. You guys should see it at the end of February, early March, something like that. I know you guys are going to like it. And if you got some guitar player friends, you should get them one because it's definitely going to piss them off.
I don't know why people get butthurt on you yelling. This is a metal-related channel. Isn't metal just a bunch of screaming? Honestly, you yelling makes it entertaining as hell. If you spoke in boring, monotone voice, very few people would watch you. I think the crybabies are just talking shit because you offended them due to their choice of purchases they may have made.
I think you might have a point there. I mean, like, nobody likes to be called an idiot, and nobody likes to feel like an idiot because they bought something that doesn't really work so well. And this is the thing, yes, there's definitely a kill the messenger kind of vibe here on this show sometimes, and that's the unfortunate truth. Ultimately, my goal here is to save the viewer some money and help them make informed choices when they do go to purchase something. And so they can, and if they're recording guitar at home, they can worry about the things that actually matter instead of the shit that's just going to cost them a lot of money and not make any real changes. Hey guys, real quick, this episode of Spectre Sound Studios has once again been sponsored by DistroKid, my favorite online music distribution service, and I've been using it trouble-free since 2015. It is the place to get your music online to all the major streaming sites like Apple Music, Amazon, Google Play, and Spotify, plus over 150 smaller online music retailers as well. It costs a whopping $20 a year, and you keep 100% of your earnings. DistroKid also has tons of cool features, like getting your project more followers on Spotify with Hyperfollow, or change your image on Apple Music and iTunes, plus adding credits and liner notes to stores and streaming services. You can list musicians, contact info, social media profiles, and hundreds of other roles. There's even a synced lyrics feature you can have so the lyrics play along to your Instagram and Apple Music posts. Now, what's more, the new splits function works great for those long-distance collaborations that everybody's doing these days. Splits allows you to pay your collaborators automatically by percentage so you can concentrate on making music instead of learning how to be an accountant. You can change up the splits, add or remove collaborators at any time, and collaborators even get a 50% discount on their own DistroKid account. Now, for all you drummers out there, that's only $10. And there's 3 levels of plans available: Musician, Musician Plus, and even one for labels. Now, I personally use DistroKid to put my own music online, including this channel's theme song, The Eagle Has Landed. And I even got a license through DistroKid for that cover of Moon on the Water we did a couple of years ago. Go to distrokid.com/VIP/Spectre today and grab yourself a 7% discount on your first year. Links in the description below. Now back to the show.
I don't understand you, honestly, and I don't also believe you when you say that you don't want people to look stupid. That's exactly what you want. Otherwise, you would choose different wording and also wouldn't waste your time with this topic anymore. Dude, how can someone tell you there are big differences? You'll never believe anyone when you have the thing fixed in your brain. Here on compressed YouTube, those pickups sounded very different that I lack words if someone's saying to hear it isn't it. I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out why you're doing this. I can't believe that you don't hear. It's beyond stupid to constantly ask for to prove yourself. You prove that you're not able to hear it. It's done for me. I'm unsubscribed now. This is a Bees channel. I would never get anything mixed from you. I hope you never regret wasting your time with this. You made a fool out of yourself.
Dude, I'm so sorry. It sounds like you just spent a lot of money upgrading your pickups. Again, I'm very sorry about that. You know what? Don't get mad at me. Get mad at the people who sold you that shit and told you were going to improve your tone. Are we hearing a slight difference? Yes. Slight difference? Absolutely. Massive difference? No. The massive difference is when we change speaker. This goes back to that pickup swap video I did with the Cream T guitar, and I wanted to show the differences between speaker and mic position and microphone type and how big of a difference that makes versus actually changing the pickups out. Then I followed it up with the 10 guitar shootout just to show what happens when we just change the guitar out with no other variables. And it's very, very small as well. Obviously, you're pretty upset with the fact that I dared challenge, collective wisdom, but, like most things, when you start putting these things to the test, a lot of these assumptions just fucking crumble. You can be upset all you want. Ultimately, though, I am trying to save you money. And if you're still feeling upset about it, don't get mad at me. Get mad at the people who took your money.
I think when you say that pickups aren't important to the tone, some people are interpreting that as pickups aren't important, which is a totally different statement. They aren't that important to sound engineer when they're trying to achieve a particular sound, but they may well be important to the guitarist, and that's fine, as long as the guitarist is able to not throw a tantrum when other people couldn't give 2 shits about their new set of bare knuckles.
You mean like the guy in the previous comment?
I'm not sure if anyone brought this up, but if you do decide to do a part 2 of the pickup swap, you should try Seymour Duncan Liberty Pot. It makes it easier to swap pickups without soldering them. That's the only aftermarket pot I know of that allows you to do that.
Hey Rod, thanks so much for the suggestion. Here's the thing, I was considering doing a part 2 of the pickup swap video, but instead I thought, hey, I've got 10 guitars here, let's just tune them all the same and see what happens. And the differences we got were pretty small. Nothing really worth going out buying a new guitar and pickups for, that's for sure. It wasn't a massive tonal shift. So as far as I'm concerned, when you're playing with gain, the whole pickups thing is just kind of a moot point. Worry more about the other things that are actually going to affect the tone. So I don't think we're going to get to see part 2 of that pickup swap video because it's probably just not worth the effort. I'd rather put my effort into things that are actually going to make differences, like exploring different speaker types, because there's so many brands out there that I haven't tried yet. Like there's Scumbacks, and I got a bunch of Mojo tones sitting in the other room I need to do some videos on, and some Jensens. We were talking about that. I really want to make that happen because I think that's going to be some very interesting stuff. Stay tuned for that and make sure you hit the subscribe button and all that good stuff.
If wood doesn't affect tone and pickups doesn't affect tone, why is it that plug-in in different guitars in the same amp sounds different?
Tunings and different string material, more than likely. Once again, we did that 10 guitar swap and we got very minimal shifts. We did get some slight shifts, but not major ones. So there is that to contend with. And that's not based on my observations, that's what the viewers said. And nobody, and I mean nobody, could pick out which guitar was which just by using their ears. So I think that says an awful lot right there. Don't believe me? Go make your own test. You'll be shocked by the results. Just make sure, same tuning, same strings. Make 2 recordings, same guitar. I think you'll be rather surprised by what you get back.
If sustain isn't tone and clarity isn't tone, if output level isn't tone, if compression isn't tone, then what is tone? Just the type of distortion and speaker? I'm sure the best tones ever recorded have nothing to do with those things I listened or the type of guitar played. Guess what? My farts can also sound just as brutal as my Stratocaster if I put enough gain. Please give us DI tracks, Clint.
Okay, well, hey, let's hear you record your farts through your amp with as much gain on there and prove your words. Here's the thing, no, compression isn't tone. Compression is compression. Sustain isn't tone. Sustain is sustain. Tone is that frequency response graph you get when you run a sweep across your speaker with that incredibly dense and complex EQ curve. That's the tone. Tone is how bright or how dark something is in general terms, but it's far more complex than that. All those other things you mentioned, those are their own individual components. That's not what makes up tone. You want to talk about sustain? That's great. That's why I always say, you know, I had this discussion with Henning. He's like, well, guitars will sustain differently because of the wood types. And I'm like, fine, then call it sustain wood. Don't call it tone wood because that's not tone. Here's the thing. If you ever get confused about what tone is, look at this knob that on your guitar that you never ever touch. What's that called? A tone knob. Try using that and see what it does. That's tone.
Use Wago connectors for switching quickly without solder.
That's an interesting suggestion. As far as I know, Wago connectors are used for home wiring, that kind of stuff. I don't know if you could get them small enough to fit in a guitar's cavity. Has anybody tried that, swapping pickups out with Wago connectors? Can we actually do that? Do they make them out of small enough scale? That's a question I would love to see answered. If anybody knows, please leave a comment below because I'd love to hear from you. Here's the thing, I don't know if there's a point in doing a pickup swap video, but at least the knowledge of being able to use a Wago connector might be kind of fucking cool, to be honest with you, because maybe we can try that with something else. Hey, you know what? That actually might be a cool idea for swappable speakers in a cabinet. That might actually, you might be onto something there, dude. Thanks for the suggestion.
I don't understand the premise here. Yes, changing amps and speakers make bigger changes in tone.
Thank you! That's my whole fucking point!
But that has nothing to do with what the pickup does. I can't change amps around every song on stage, so my Fender will give me a sound, then my Ibanez gives me another, then my X guitar gives me a different tone. Most players don't really have a million amps, so different pickups will shape the sound of their amp. Second, if I like the sound of my amp, then I don't want a massive change in tone. I just want to change the color a bit, so I plug in a different guitar. Lastly, I know this channel is about metal and hard rock, but even hard rock and metal bands want clean sounds from time to time. So the changes in tone that are more pronounced in cleaner settings do matter. I just don't see the issue here.
The issue here is that I'm talking through the lens of a recording engineer. So yes, I do want big shifts in tone, because if a client A comes in and wants In Flame sound, and client B comes in and wants Van Halen tone, and then client C comes in and wants Iron Maiden sound, I need to know how to get those sounds. That's the whole point here. Once again, the show's called Spectre Sound Studios. You saw that when you clicked on this video, Spectre Sound Studios. So as a recording engineer, I'm very interested in getting the massive shifts in tone. And this is to help everybody out there who's recording at home, who's trying to get those kind of fucking sounds. Once again, I got all the bad advice and made all the mistakes about pickups and tone wood and all the rest of the crap. And I've already spent the money and I learned it's all fucking bullshit. If you want to get the sound you're really after, don't fuck around with that stuff. Start looking at speakers. That's where the key is. That's going to help you record the sounds you want. I don't understand. Well, and the hilarious thing is, though, you say you don't want to change your amps out and whatnot. Why is it that we got so many guys who go up on stage with Axe effects and Kempers and insist on using different amp setups for every fucking song? Ugh.
I've met a couple of people that refuse to turn off cab simulators when they run through real cabs, and they always wonder that they can't hear themselves when playing live. LOL. For the stage, I use an After Effects 2 running to a Matrix power amp and then my 4x12 cab. I keep the cab sim off, and that goes into a power section, but I do have the cab sim turned on for the output that runs into our in-ear monitors. Makes everything sound nice.
And that's using the technology correctly. That absolutely works. The Quad Cortex will do the same thing. You can turn off your cab sim to go through a live cabinet, and that's great. And then have it going, to either your monitors or to the PA with the cab sim on. That's how to do it. That's why I love that kind of technology, because it works so well. Actually, I just had someone in here the other day, leaves his cab sim on at practice and he can't hear himself. Exact same thing. I'm like, dude, you need to turn that off. He's like, really? And I'm like, hey, don't worry. I made that mistake too. When I first got my first 2 notes, I was running a cab sim into a cab sim. I'm like, why does it sound like shit? And then you turn it off, it's like, oh, that sounds so much better. Yeah, same idea here. And that's the thing, technology is a thing, and you're always guaranteed a session of grief when you're working with something new. The trick is to learn from your mistakes and move on. Anyway, the guy did wind up thanking me, and I hear he's getting much better results these days. So just remember, guys, if you're playing into a live rig with your Axe FX, turn off the cab sim when you're running into a real cab. You don't need a sim when you're going through the real thing.
Hey Glenn, I recently got myself an EVH 5150 iconic head. Since my flat doesn't allow for proper microphone recording, I'll get myself a DI box. What would be the best way to set the cables for it? Also use a multi-effect board for effects usually. Since I'm completely new to this way of recording, I recorded via an effect board in the past. A little help would be appreciated. Greetings from Munich.
Well, I'd recommend getting a load box, actually. Let me show you what I mean. This is a 2 notes Torpedo Captor X, and what it'll allow you to do is, let me go in right here. You plug your speaker out of the amp right into here, and then you come out of the XLRs here into your recording interface, and that gives you a direct feed off the back of your amp, and then you can load up IRs like the free one available in the description below. Start with that, start simple, don't even worry about your fucking effects right yet. Get the basic shit working before you decide to fuck it up with a bunch of other crap that you really don't need. Worry about the fundamentals. Do that, get that sounding good, then worry about your effects board, seriously.
The difference is huge, but I do agree that most people can't hear properly, LOL.
Thank Crom for your superior hearing. Dude, you're gonna love this next comment because I think it really does apply to you.
I would like to hear the mixes of those who have superior hearing. Let's put that to the test and see if they discover frequency masking, phasing problems, adjusting EQ so each instrument along the Vox has its own space in the mix. Because if they can hear a significant tone difference from pickups, then they should be masters at identifying said issues in the mix. The only real difference I hear in pickups is the output levels and such. Yes, noisy garbage, buzzing, crackling, grounding problems. Pickups can hurt your sound, but not your tone. All of my guitars have a range from Fishmans to Nazgul to Sentiment Combo to stock pickups from the guitar manufacturer to Solar Duncans. Yes, there is output differences, but the tone isn't really all that different. And I use the same settings in my preamp, power amp, etc. I have the Power 700 from Axe FX, and that thing is awesome. Gets fucking hot though. Keep the tone demos coming. Love to see the reactions.
Well, thank you very much for that, Joe's Music Shack. I think that comment even went up before I did my 10 guitar shootout, so I think we're on the same page there as far as guitars into amps go. And I do love your comment about the superior hearing thing. I hope the guy who made the comment before you was paying attention there, because yes, if he's got that great hearing, I would love to hear his mixes. I'm sure he's going to blow us all the way. Of course, I don't think any of us should really be holding our breath for that to ever materialize, because that would take effort. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. This is what? I'm sitting here at this desk shooting like episode 5 of this in a row. I was hoping to be done like 3 hours ago, but here we are, still at it. But I am trying to get all the stuff done before I take off and do my traveling. So I hope you guys don't mind the run that this has been on for the last few weeks. And I'm sure the themes is going to change near the end of February as I get more comments from you guys. It should be some very interesting stuff, to say the least, because we're definitely going to explore a lot more cool stuff. And like I said, I want to check out some more speaker brands and see what we can do there as well. All right, if you found the video useful, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Hopefully I'm past 500,000 subscribers by the time this video goes live. If not, you can definitely help me out there. I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to check out my 10 guitar swap video, you can check it out right here. It's definitely a bit of an eye-opener, that's for sure. Spoiler, save your money, kids.